Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. For those of you who are new here, I'm Ysolda, and in today's podcast I'm sharing my latest finished projects, some exciting works in progress which are mostly gift knits, and a few new yarn acquisitions, a button, a pattern, just a few extra bits here and there. Before we dive in, I am recovering from quite a chesty cold that I had the last couple of weeks, so do bear with me if I am short for breath or anything like that. If that annoys you, then I'll see you in the next podcast, I guess. First up is the Darling Cardigan by Veronica Lindenberg, and that's the one I'm wearing today after I finished the step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller, where she did such a great YouTube video. I learned so much from following her tutorial. Honestly, I would have been so confused without it. That sweater taught me techniques like short rows, German short rows, folded collars, picking up stitches, arm shaping. I mean, all the things that were completely new to me at the time. And I did that in March of last year, February of last year. And today is December 13th. So for my next project, I wanted to knit a cardigan, specifically something light enough to wear with dresses in the spring and autumn. And I loved the fit of the Darling cardigan, and I chose it partly because it also had a detailed YouTube tutorial that was similar to the step-by-step sweater. So there's a bit of hand holding going on there, and I kind of appreciated that. I do appreciate a bit of hand holding when learning something new. Just makes me realize that I'm doing it right. And so the pink sample that Veronica knit was really beautiful. It used 2 strands of Sandnes Garn Borstet Alpaca, which is a brushed alpaca yarn, and I wanted a similar look that I could wear with dresses. I bought the Drops brushed alpaca for my version, and when I knit the swatch, I really struggled to see the individual stitches. The brushed fibers clung to each other, and they sort of like blended the stitches together. It kind of was a bit impossible to really see my stitches and then, focus on increasing and decreasing. It definitely was more challenging compared to a more regular plied yarn. So to solve this, I paired the brushed alpaca with a strand of Sandnes Garn Sunday in Jazzy Pink, and that combination made the cardigan, well, it's made it slightly warmer than I had originally intended it, but I was fully committed to knitting this pattern and I didn't want to switch to something new. So the pairing turned out beautifully, I think. The Drops alpaca was a muted rose pink. It's called Heather. I actually have it here with me. It's really lovely and really soft. And the Jazzy Pink, which I don't have with me, was a lot brighter. So together it created sort of like the perfect shade, because one was really bright and one was a bit more muted, I would say. So yeah, I quite like how it's turned out. And knitting the cardigan was really fun to do. It did take me much longer, but it had nothing to do with the pattern. I sort of started it around, I think like just as my son, my 9-year-old, was about to finish school for the summer. And then I sort of got caught up in being with the kids. And then we kind of lost our dog. Well, we did lose our dog. And he was really, really young, and I sort of just didn't feel like knitting after that during the autumn months. So I really only picked up knitting more recently around November. And I was at the button band, and as I was doing it, my knitting needle, which was the Lantern Moon ones, one day they just sort of snapped on me. I'm not sure why, because they look so sturdy. So yeah, that was not fun. And so I bought Chiagu, is that how you say it? I bought their metal needles because I didn't want another set of needles snapping, and these were metal, so I bought those. And I think my tension might have been slightly different because the lantern moons are like an ebony wood, and then the Chiagus, gosh, yeah, they're metal. So I think my gauge might have been slightly off, but once I blocked it, you couldn't really notice. And then the other issue I had with it is that I knit the top buttonhole too close or above where the increase starts. So where you have like the V shape, I did it just above during the V rather than during where it's like more straight. So I thought I could live with it. I really only noticed it after I'd finished the entire thing and cast off. So I thought I could live with it, and I blocked the entire thing. I bought the buttons, and when it came to sewing the buttons on, I just realized I couldn't live with it. So I really did that entire thing. I had to rework the button band. I couldn't just pull back because I'd picked up stitches along the body for it, and I didn't want to lose those stitches. So I literally unknit all the work I'd done on the double knitted button band that took such a long time. And then, so I finally got to this section and then went a bit further down. Now that I've knit it, I kind of wish I'd gone a bit more further down, to be honest, but I'm not going to knit it again. so then I re-knit the entire thing. I think what I noticed is that the stitches from the blocked yarn, when I've re-knit the button band, they're not as like lofty as the rest. Does that make sense? It's not as fluffy. They're a bit more like rustic, perhaps. They feel a bit different. I don't know if I should reblock, and perhaps that might make it feel more lofty and fluffy again. Do let me know if you've knit with yarn that's already been blocked and whether you can get it looking fluffy again. So it does look slightly different to the rest of the cardigan, but because it's it's closed, you can't really see it. It's the side that has the button, so it goes under the side that has the holes. So that's kind of worked out. I do still intend on wearing it with dresses in the spring, so let's see how it looks then. And for that reason, I did make the sleeves shorter, because in the spring I don't really want, sleeves coming all the way down my arm. I don't want that lovely cozy feel that you want in the winter. I wanted something that looked like it belonged in the spring and summertime. It can still be quite cold here in London during that time, and I still like wearing dresses. I still kind of want to feel spring and summery. And so you do need like a jacket or a cardigan, and I'm hoping I can wear these with a few bluish dresses that I have. I think that would look really nice. Okay, so moving on to my next finished project, and that's the musselburgh hat, which I have here. I made it in the same colouring as I did the cardigan because I had a lot of yarn left. I didn't realise how popular this pattern was until I saw it on Ravelry's top page. It's my first hat that I've knit, and I chose it because I have a really, really favourite store-bought hat that I wear all the time, and it's like a double-layered tube, similar to the musselburgh, and it has a really thick folded brim, so actually like a bit thicker than this. It's really, really warm, and I've worn it for years, and I wanted something similar because it does look quite worn, and also I've wanted something in a brighter colour. The one that I have isn't exactly suited to my like dark winter colouring, so yeah, I wanted to do this. And so finding the musselburgh hat was kind of like a no-brainer. I wanted to knit it, and I did it using the Sandnes Garn Sunday in Jazzy Pink and the brushed drops Alpaca in the heather, exactly the same as the Darling cardigan. I had a skein and a half of the Jazzy Pink, and I've got loads of these left because obviously I bought it to hold double for the cardigan, but I didn't. So what I really like in a beanie is kind of like extra poof and like a little bit of that sort of like elfy look. And so I measured my head and it was a size small, but because I wanted to make it a bit longer, I decided to go for the medium, and I'm so glad that I did because it's actually quite snug. The trickiest part of this pattern was doing the crown. It's such a small number of stitches that you're working in the round, and it's a very small circumference. I think it's the smallest circumference that I've done. But once I got past that, it was kind of like smooth sailing. It's like stockinette. But I will admit that halfway through, I was tempted to stop and bind off, just sort of like leaving it as a single layer hat. I'm really glad I stuck to the pattern because the double layer design is incredibly warm. And I get compliments on the color all the time. It looks really nice with my like black puffer jacket that I have. I wear this very, very long puffer jacket to stay warm in the winter. I have to say the Drops Alpaca is one of the softest sort of lace mohair fluffy types of yarns that I've come across. I feel zero itch from wearing it, and obviously the Sandnes Garn Sunday Merino is equally soft, but it just feels amazing to wear. I feel no itch at all. Yeah, if you're looking for something super soft, do look into it. Moving on to my works in progress. Let me bring it forward. So I'm currently working on 2 gift knits. And the first is the Brendan sweater by Sandnes Garn. It's a, oh gosh, let me reach for it. Here it is. It's a men's, I'm not going to say a raglan, I'm not sure. I will put it in if it is or not. So I'm using Gynt, Tynn Gynt in Melange grey, and also the Alpaca Følgetråd in also Melange grey. I think it's 1042 is the number for both. This is 100% wool, and this is, I think, almost 100%. It is 100% alpaca. The alpaca is noticeably softer than the Gynt, and I'm using it on 4mm needles, and it's created this sort of like airy fabric. It's not as dense as, for example, like my darling cardigan. There's definitely like more spaces between the stitches. Does that make sense? It's just more airy, I would say. So I've done the back section, and it's sort of like do the back, do the sides, and then sort of start joining them together for the yoke, which is new to me because I think I've only worked in the round or just back and forth, like as one piece. I've never done a piece here and then cut the yarn and done another piece and cut the yarn and brought them together. So yeah, this is just the back section, and I'm gonna have to like work really hard on this because it's a gift knit for my husband. So I've got about, what is it, just under 2 weeks to finish? Not quite sure. So my second whip is a gift knit for my son. It's a Little Bear by Melody Hoffman. He picked it out himself. He looked through the Ravelry site for like stuffed toys and stuff like that. And this is the one that he came up with that he really wanted. I offered to knit him a jumper or like something he could wear, and he said he wanted something he could cuddle with that had mummy love, which just is so sweet. So I think this pattern reminds me a little bit of Squishmallows, if you know what they are. They're sort of like these cushions that are animal shaped, quite bright, very soft. My son has a couple of them and he sort of like cuddles them when he goes to sleep. So this has a similar feel to it, but it has kind of like this cute rustic bear face, which I really like. I'm making it with Cascade 2020 Superwash in chocolate and Drops Baby Merino in light beige, yeah, and in black. So this is the first time I'm using Superwash, so I'm eager to see how it knits up and then how it blocks. Well, let's move on to acquisitions then, because I'm already talking about the yarn. So I've bought the Tynn Gynt, which I'm really, really excited to be using because I wanted to see how this feels when it's finished being knit up. I was, or still am, worried that it might be too itchy. I have no issues with the alpaca. It is so, so soft. And this doesn't have like a brushed or like a mohair feel. It's not like halo-y. It's quite plied. Does that make sense? It's sort of like a yarn rather than a fluffy halo yarn. And the drops, Baby Merino, I have to say, feels softer than the Cascade 2020, but I really like the way the Cascade 2020 is knitting up. I think I'm gonna have a lot of this left because I'm practically halfway through on the little bear. I'm just gonna make his little face and then you do his ears and that's sort of it. I might still have enough yarn to make one for my toddler, so I might do that if I've got some left. You know, why not? And what else do I have? I mentioned this in my first podcast, which was on a different channel called London Knit, and I moved it over to this channel, which I've had for years. So anyway, it's the West Yorkshire Spinach, let's say that again, the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. I bought this at my local yarn shop. I wanted to have a yarn that I could make some fun socks with. I've never knit socks, so I wanted the yarn to be really, really fun. And I don't mind wearing bright socks with my like winter boots and have like a little bit of cuff showing. I think that's quite fun. Nice way of brightening up the winter months. So anyway, I only bought one, but I think I might need a bit more, perhaps. I didn't really think about foot size or anything like that. I'm not sure. It is 400 meters. Perhaps it is enough. We shall see. We'll see in the next podcast how I'm doing with that. I also bought some buttons. Oops, I've got a yarn that's rolling away. So initially, before I bought these buttons, I thought I might do like statement buttons for the Darling cardigan. So I bought these like lovely silver ones. I mean, they're gorgeous, but when I got them, I didn't feel like the Darling cardigan could pull these off. I'll save them for something else. And I'm kind of sad I only bought 3 because they are quite small. I think perhaps I should have bought 6 and then perhaps I could have put them like on some arms or something, on some cuffs, or more of them on a different cardigan because they are quite small. I'm trying to hold them against the cardigan to show you. But I guess if you had like 5 of these along a button band, that would look more substantial than just having like 3 random small ones. Let me know if you are picky with buttons. I am realizing I'm quite picky with buttons as I've knit the Darling cardigan. Yeah, I kind of have a lot of opinions about the size of button versus the size of the button band. Yeah, let me know if you have the same thoughts. I'm sure it's not just me. Okay, so I think that brings me to the end. So that's it for today's podcast. I've got all my whips and acquisitions laid out on the table. Let me know if you've knit any of these patterns or if you have tips for blocking reknit pieces, whether that changes the stitches. I'm a bit concerned about this. As always, I'd love to hear what you're working on, so feel free to share in the comments. Let me know if you're working on any gift knits. I'm looking forward to not doing gift knits because I want to carry on learning new things, but also really enjoying doing the gift knits, and I'm really excited to give the finished pieces to my son and my husband. So yeah, it's sort of like this bittersweet thing that I have with it. I want to knit for myself, but at the same time I'm really excited to be knitting for them, and I'm really excited to give it to them. Let me know if you feel the same about gift knits. So I think in my next episode, I'm going to be talking about my winter plans. I'm so excited. I've been browsing so many patterns. A lot of amazing patterns were released this year. So I might even do a video showing my favorite pieces that were released this year. So that's it for me for today. Thank you for tuning in and happy knitting. Bye guys.